Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today, zooming in on the female psychopath. Well, I had a response from a viewer who had emailed me regarding really sort of the troubling thoughts, really hitting kind of like a feeling of lack of the ability to, I guess, get over the abuse of a female psychopath, someone who had really victimized him so poorly, so badly, and for so long that he really kind of has lost touch with his own ability for healing. So I want to address really that sort of chaos and that pandemonium that occurs from a female psychopath, someone who depersonalizes to such a degree where they're so wanting to take people on as really a victim. I mean, the female psychopath has been termed an interspecies predator. So this is not something that we want or should be taking lightly. This is very serious, because realize that the narcissist and the psychopath, they're on a similar sort of ladder in terms of personality disorders. And when we start to get into very severe narcissism, which tends to become more pronounced with time, we get more into the psychopathic area. Psychopathic meaning not only do they lack empathy, but they lack morality, so that their abuse becomes more severe, more rigid, more debased, more immoral with time. And so, even worse transgressions occur. We see people who are, messing around with legal documents and dealing with people's inheritance, and not being allowed to participate in people's family functions, and a whole host of chaos and pandemonium that is extremely depersonalizing in nature. So depersonalizing meaning really severing your connection to your ability to be a person and have a perspective and really feel like you're able to focus. There's so much chaos that they will create, emotional chaos, physical chaos, threats, intimidation, impulse control. These are all traits and tactics of a female psychopath that they will basically launch, and can be very lethal to people in order to really knock them out of the picture, knock them out of being a contender for receiving, knock them out of their ability to really participate. It seems very severe, but yet it is very severe. And one key towards really getting a sense of wholeness again, and personalization again, and your humanity again, your healing and safety, is to realize that you have to begin to declare this and realize that person, and not to minimize your needs here, but realize that person is going to come on full throttle, full force, and do some really immoral things which will blow your mind. I mean, it just the extent to their ability to pathologically lie and create chaos through pathological lying, through vetting up of other people to back them up, and basically create a whole army, if you will, of people who are designed to knock you down. I mean, these people seek and create such a dissension, a knocking down of really people who are intact and good that is intact. They really seek to destroy this so that they can prevail. But you have to remember that good is going to prevail over the evil. Truth is going to prevail over the lies. So it is so important to realize that this sort of depersonalization, if it has occurred to you at such a deep level, realize that this creating has been created in you from someone who is using all these mechanisms, pathological lying, lack of impulse control, lack of morality. They are doing unscrupulous acts. You have to then, I don't want to say fight fire with fire, but you have to realize that these are the tactics, so equal measures need to be implemented so that you are not further victimized. So one comes with a perspective. The very first tool in overcoming really the female psychopath is getting perspective. number one is realizing that that entity out there is coming from a debased and diseased, mentally, from an anatomical structure, there is something wrong there. In fact, even though their outward appearance, they can be good looking, they can be high functioning, they can hold positions of power, they can have families. This is the whole dichotomy. This is the whole challenge, is that, to a lot of people, they seem very high functioning, normal, la-di-da. So so your challenge then is to keep and maintain that awareness, no matter what other people might say, because you don't need them on your side. That's just a typical strategy that they use to try to bulk up, a lot of people, on their army of pathological lies. So realizing that to be the case, the first step is having awareness, and then keeping your awareness cool, calm, and collected. Once you've identified that this person is maladaptive, that they have, a physical situation going on within their brain scans show that in the female psychopath, that there are deficits in processing in the paralimbic system and the amygdala and in the anterior left insula, that basically create, there's a lower activity in these areas, which relate to impulse control, emotion, content, and compassion. So, and I've referred to this in previous videos, it's been determined by some scientists that the psychopath is almost on a little bit of an autism sort of situation. So it's almost like they're so much in their own pathological world that they have a little bit of autism going on, which means you can't connect to them. If you've ever known or seen an autistic child, autism is a situation where they're really not able to comprehend certain language and such. So realize that you're dealing with this sort of situation when you're dealing with a female psychopath. There's not a lot of information out there about this. So, it is very, you have to sort of, start to put together in your, and do research. But to know that, your awareness is the very first thing that's going to be your saving grace. And then just realize and continue to reaffirm your sense of what I'm going to call your personhood, your humanness, your vulnerability. And so really begin to connect to your vulnerable side, because that's going to give you a source of information, and a source of truth. So your path can become a little bit straighter when theirs is all twisted. And so you have to stay on that path. You have to be straight, where they're going to continue sort of that cyclical path. You're going to have to remain straight. And that crazy making will subside once you, continue, I would say, to stop focusing on the psychopath and learn more about how to help yourself. One thing I find with a lot of my clients is that they're emphasizing, they're trying to focus too much on the psychopath, and they're trying to think how they think. Really, you don't want to learn how a psychopath thinks. That is not advised. You instead, you need to focus on yourself and what you need to do to protect yourself, and how to enhance and build up yourself and your strength and your connection to the truth and your well-being. Because that is really where your personal power is going to be, where the psychopath does not want you to exist. They want you to continue to come at their force with a counter force and fight. You need to refrain from being their counter force. I know this is a lot of information, people. You need to refrain from being their counter force, and you need to hold on to and grasp your personal power, so that you are understanding your truth, you are seeing your truth more clearly, and your personal power then is what's going to give you your substance and your nutrient, basically, through your emotions. It's what's going to essentially be a positive fuel versus a negative fuel. And that is really the essence, that's the core, that's the really kind of the nut that we want to really begin to explore and crack here on this channel with peace and harmony, so you can become more in that versus, you know, in that conflict consciousness. So I hope this video does help, and a shout out to my viewer who has experienced this female psychopath. Please do share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support.